Good morning. This is Peter Burns coming to you from beautiful Southern California. I am going to share updates on our latest and greatest business that was started 8 to 10 weeks ago. I had sent some videos to the people involved back then as I was starting up. I'm going to capsulize the history, then I'm going to talk about the status, and then the tasks ahead, and then the expectations for what can happen from this really exciting business. So let me give you a short history of this account of this exciting business. So I think it was June 2nd. So literally July, August, September. Today's September 2nd. So literally 3 months ago today, I was reapproached by a dear friend named Tim Hurst, who's from Arizona. And Tim and I met each other, 20 years ago when I fell in love with his car that he was selling. Didn't make a deal for the car, ended up getting the car because I bought his mansion 20 years ago. And it was fabulous. I loved it. We bought it. I lived there. We flipped it, and it was a great deal. But it was also prescient because you'll hear on the history here recap. I own the house again, and actually for less than what I paid Tim for it 20 years ago. But that's part of the history lesson here. So anyway, Tim approached me. He was responding to some blogs I did on LinkedIn. And the blogs on LinkedIn had to do with my funding company, which is called Burns Funding, that I started, 4 months ago. And Burns Funding is merely an aggregator of best practices in the financing space, mostly unsecured and alternative funding. I've learned over the last 44 years having to fund my own 150 businesses, and I got pretty good at funding other people's businesses. So I decided to kind of start a funding company, and I would write about it on my blogs and LinkedIn. Tim saw the blogs. He then reached out to me with pictures of my old Rolls Royce and pictures of the mansion. But then he said he had stumbled upon something about a year ago, a little bit more now. A very interesting opportunity involving building in the group home space. I'd never heard of group homes. He kind of explained it to me. But he said the opportunity existed for what he was doing of purchasing a home, rehabilitating the home according to ADA standards to fit under the group home statutes, allowing it to be licensed. And basically what happened is the federal government came in about a year ago, and it issued a non-discriminating against handicapped and elderly, et cetera, that allowed group homes to literally be located in any HOA-dominated space. It completely superseded all of the local regulations, and it allowed you to plop group homes right into the most hoity-toity, restrictive HOAs and neighborhoods anywhere, which was fantastic because Tim, understanding this, bought homes, rehabbed them, and licensed them as group homes in Sun City, and he did 13 of them in a year. And he didn't have the wherewithal to hold onto the homes himself after he had rehabilitated them, but instead he flipped them for the delta of the appreciated value that he created in these homes. So what he was reaching out to me for was to see if I could provide the gap funding that would allow him to complete the homes after he purchased them. We can use a 70% hard money lender like he was doing on the purchase, and then he needed the money to complete the purchase, the 30% equity, as well as the money to come into rehab it and turn it into and license it. All that took like 2 or 3 months. So I looked at the figures and I was absolutely amazed at the profitability of running a group home. And I told him I'd be his partner with just 50-50 and all the new ones. So we entered into business, 2 months ago, let's say. And then I started recruiting doctors. I call them docvestors. I would loan them money to become our partners, and they'd get a great ROI. And then we'd have our capital, which I'd also profit from by lending them the money through my Burns funding. And all of a sudden, we now have 10 different group homes. And like I alluded to in the beginning of this conversation, I woke up one morning after Tim and I started talking. I said, well, wait a minute. My own father was in an assisted living home. 15 years ago, he was paying $20,000 a month for a studio. Now, granted, it was a really nice building right on the water in Santa Monica, 4-star restaurant on the premises, everything you can imagine for a wealthier person who now was in the part of his life that he needed some help, so assisted living work. And I thought, gosh, why don't we take this same concept that Tim had perfected in Sun City with the entry-level group homes, and why don't I aim for the big dogs that have plenty of money when they were in earning capacity? They sold their big homes, and why wouldn't they like to live large? So Tim said I was dead on, that there was an awful lot of opportunity in that space, which had been completely ignored or no one had figured it out yet. And then he called me back later that day and told me that, lo and behold, my old mansion that I bought 20 years ago was for sale again for less than what I paid him for 20 years ago. So we bought it. And that home will be closed upon and will be turned into a very high-end assisted living. And there's not a damn thing the hoity-toity neighborhood at Phoenix Country Club can do about it, which is pretty exciting to me. So we continued working and moving forward. And let me tell you about the DocVestors, how that came about. So I lend money to pretty much anyone, unsecured lending. We do magic where other people aren't willing to do it. We have non-bank lenders. And it turns out there was a doctor, a very talented, very successful doctor, Dr. Cliff Janke, who had come to me for money because he needed to raise some capital for an investment he was making. And during the process of approving him for money, I discovered that he was a big real estate investor, and he actually had like 24 individual properties that he was balancing, in addition to being an emergency room MD in 3 different emergency rooms in 2 different states. I don't know how that guy does it. He must not sleep. But he made a lot of money, and his credit was good enough so I could lend him some money. And then, you know what? I just reached out to him. I said, hey, I'm the wizard behind the curtain that loaned you a bunch of money when no one else would. Let's talk. I noticed you're into real estate, and I have an interesting real estate business that I'm just entering into. And that became the pattern of me utilizing doctors' good credit and great lender approvability. And Cliff started bringing me other doctors. Now we have like 4 or 5 or 6 other doctors. And one of those doctors has introduced us to a group of physician investors with 42,000 members, and another with 15,000 members, and another with 9,000 members. And we're just preparing a whole presentation deck that my COO, Rob Tepper, did only last night, and we're going over that. And I got a feeling we're really onto something. So what we've done is now we've also entered into a purchase agreement with 3 existing behavioral group homes, which is the next level up from the bread and butter group homes, but less than the alternate lifestyle deal with the mansion. And these have earnings, 10-year history, but more importantly, they have 2 things that I'm very interested in. Number one, they have all of the licensing for the behavioral homes and the trained staff for 8 to 10 years that allow us to take all of the bread and butter homes, of which I don't even know how many we have, a bunch, and then put them under the umbrella, because I'm going to buy the actual company with the licensing that has the relationships with 2 hospitals, pipeline of people that just fill up these homes for the behavioral homes, and likely will fill up all the rest of the homes that we have. And we'll go from 3 homes to 8 behavioral homes overnight with an EBITDA of, say, $40,000, $50,000 a month for the existing homes to $140,000 a month, which is incredible, and a brand new business. But the other part that's really interesting is the gentleman who owns these homes, that's selling me the homes, has agreed to become our CEO. And he has a huge history of success. He was second, third biggest builder in the United States. And the recession whacked him pretty good, but he's got back on his feet. And by buying his homes and giving him yet another chance to ring the bell, he'll help bring this little nascent company into the big time. He's actually uh, been responsible for creating 4 $100 million a year companies. Why not make it 5? Why not make it $1 billion? I mean, we're in a very interesting situation. The aging population is about 10,000 people turn 65 every day in America. There's nowhere to put them. You know, you've got the nursing homes, which is just basically you go there to die, or you've got assisted living, which can be expensive and maybe not what someone wants to do, or you have this compassionate alternative of group homes where you're with 10 people. You have a chef. You have the medical treatment that you might need. You don't have severe needs, but those then can be helped with the behavior homes. So we've got this progression: bread and butter, behavior homes, mansions, and all the above. We're even working on another really interesting one that Larry Miller, the future CEO, has come up with. One of the hospitals has indicated that there is a certain type of transitional behavioral client, and these are people that can go to work during the day, but they have to have a place to stay at night, their own place with the medical supervision. And it's a way to basically help them get back into society on a step basis. They have literally 60 beds they can fill at $4,000 a month. And that's a $240,000 a month, $1 million a year profit business if we can deliver a facility. So we're out busy looking for 40 to 60 home apartment buildings right now to be able to convert to this interesting thing. So it keeps getting bigger and bigger. And I really say that there's a lot of people in the group home business. Heck, there's 2,000 of them, but they're all mom and pops. Nobody has really aggregated and installed quality control and scaled it with efficiencies. We're going to do that. And then my plan is, after we've established it in Arizona, which we're well on our way to doing, we're going to move to Southern California, then Texas and Florida, all the places where people like to retire, that this business could be just explosively good. So we're excited about that. So here are the tasks that we have in front of us. Okay, so we have to, first of all, we have to close our funding deals. We have a very large $775,000 unsecured funding deal, courtesy of our first doctor, Cliff Jenke. We have actually managed to find private lenders who are taking his 24 properties, blanket mortgage, and then releasing his untapped equity, that's just debt equity, on these accumulated properties to create a credit line which allows us to then implement all of our plans. We'll close loop on all of the homes that we've already acquired. We'll finish acquiring them. We'll fix them all up. We'll buy the 3 behavioral homes from Larry Miller. We'll create an infrastructure. I'll hire people, yada, yada, yada. All the stuff that you have to do to have a real business, instead of one of my businesses that I start having coffee at coffee shops and then talking it up. Now this, I got to get serious. We got millions of dollars worth of real estate, millions of dollars worth of income, and we've really touched on something that's pretty big. So we're going to close the deals, establish everything, have a real business. I am simply the founder. I don't run anything. I put the pieces together, and all the experts that are geniuses, way smarter than me in their respective fields, will be hired, brought on, offered equity portions, all the above, so that we can really turn this into a really cool business. And then what are my final expectations? Well, honestly, I've run a whole bunch of businesses, and I've lived well and made and lost fortunes, story of my life. Well, I have a chance to actually create my first unicorn. And if you know what a unicorn is, it's a private company that very rapidly goes to $1 billion in value. I don't see this as actually a problem. I think I can actually do this. As long as we continue on our path, do it the right way, remain stabilized, capitalize well, bring in the different investor groups like the DocVestors who are perfect for this. They're compassionate. This is a medically related field. It is real estate based, and it's operating in a very, very profitable environment of group homes that is going to do nothing but escalate over the years. And if we do everything that I think we're going to do, I'm going to have a giant company come and pay us billions of dollars when I have a couple of hundred of these suckers in operation, cash flowing. Because the big, huge conglomerates they don't want to buy something that they have to start from scratch. They like to pick something up that is already existing, cash flow. They raise a bunch of money. I mean, I know about that business, but just peripherally. One of my brothers runs a hedge fund, and you know what? I think it's a great exit strategy. It won't be 5 years maybe, but in the meantime, we can make a lot of people a lot of money. More importantly, we can take care compassionately of all those people that deserve a break. We need to treat our elderly like other countries do. We need to take care of them, and this is a good way to do that. So thank you so much. This is Peter Burns signing off.